It is a new year and it will be a very busy one in the political space as the nation prepares for the next general elections, which will happen early next year. As political parties and the Independent National Electoral Commission put their houses in order for this, one issue which still stands out is the Electoral Amendment Bill, which President Buhari withheld assent to in what he says is in the interest of democracy. So what is it going to be? Well, the National Assembly vetoed the president or removed the contentious clause which prescribes mandatory direct primaries for political parties. How will this all pan out? Joining me to discuss this is political analyst Shijibumi Adebi Bennett. And he is joining me now to discuss this. Good morning. Good to have you.
Good morning. Good to see your beautiful face and other beautiful faces again.
Welcome back.
Thank you so much.
Now, let's talk about this matter. You know, a lot of divergent reactions have, trailed this matter since the president, withheld assent. But if we want to take a critical look, let's even go back in time to 1999. Over time, we have tried to amend the Electoral Act. The first time it was passed, it was in 2001. It revised in 2002, 2006, and 2010. Just an attempt to improve upon the process. But then again, it's seemingly challenging trying to improve upon these processes. But what we have done so far as a country and as a democracy, how has that bring us closer to having a free, fair, and credible election over the years that we have attempted to, make some changes?
I think we've done a bit of, we've covered a bit of ground. And in as much as the pace has not been much, the progress has not been really, really significant, but we've really moved. We've really covered space. Just within the last 5, let's say 6, 7 years, the last electoral cycle, let me put it like that, before Goodluck Jonathan left, we had the issue of the card reader, which was introduced, and it helped us a bit. And the only challenge with card reader is that it was not incorporated into the electoral law. So we had issues with apparent and blatant electoral breaches, irregularities that the court could not do anything about. Take for issue what happened in the Rivers State, where in 2015, when it was as if there was no election because the result sheets were not even there.
Right.
But the court could not do anything about it. Even in Lagos, the PDP had a case against Akinwumi Ambode at that time. But the same thing that happened in Rivers was repeated itself in Lagos. Card reader was not a part of the electoral laws. So everything was just trashed. Now coming into this dispensation, INEC has been given that independence, which they are in the act that constituted them. They should be able to tell and to execute and implement any election based on procedures that they think will make us have a free and fair election. There shouldn't be any interference from the executive or the legislature. The only thing the legislature could do is if they see that there is something that needs to be corrected, you pass it into law. Then INEC acts on it, but not to interfere in any way directly with the process. So is this
decision an interference in your point of view?
It's neither here nor there, because everything you do in Nigeria, people will always find a means, overtly or covertly, to circumvent. If you talk about direct primaries, it engenders inclusivity. So many people are involved, just like a general election. So if I'm a party man and I don't have a voice in choosing my representative, the people that would represent the party, because that is the first place where the representation and the election should start. once somebody that I am not really comfortable with, even in my party, is being presented, I don't have any other choice again. Because that's the person that is being presented, and that's the person that will be at the general election. So the first point is that basic or the foundational level, whereby I should have a voice, the majority should carry the vote in saying this is the person we want. But you will see that most times, every law we pass is tainted with sinister and selfish agendas. That's the issue. When I first heard about the primaries being made across the board, I was happy because it will do something. It will make the youth and people with no Ghana must go, in quote, to be able to find a voice in those parties. Because I was discussing with someone and I said, see, this is good news. It may be a tussle between the legislature and the executive, because that is what it really is.
Right.
But it will give the youth and some of us that don't have that financial backing to be able to get a voice. Because by the time you get into that race, and people can say, okay, how many people do you want to even share money to? People can say, we really want this person. In terms of maybe you want to go to the House of Rep or House of Assembly, and in your area you are popular, and the party people in your area like you. But in a situation whereby it is indirect, all the delegates are either officials of the party as at that time, which we have with the governor or the people in the executive we have access to interfere with the process that selected them, or serving executive members, people in the cabinet. So you have like 60 or 65% of the delegates being directly connected to any governor. So that has already showed that we can't have a fair process because someone is determining the people that are going to
But there are
vie for
those who
electoral
believe
office.
that it is neither here nor there. That there are those who still have the monies to spread around, whoever it is, that is whether direct or indirect. There are those who have the monies to want to throw around. So, but that it is a matter of internal democracy within political parties, which they have to begin to look into and address.
That's why, you know, when I started also, I said it's neither here nor there, because people will still find a way. But the truth about it is, which I see, is the fact that the president, in his wisdom, based on the advice he said he got,
Yes,
has reasonable points. Because talk about the very smaller parties,
who do not have the structure.
Number two, it's like imposing on every political party. That's not democracy itself. That you must. That's not what the Electoral Act or the Constitution that we have now says. That you must always practice this model alone. Anywhere you see like a restriction or that a particular thing, that's like a monopoly. That everybody must go through this process. Because sometimes you could have situations whereby that kind of process will not be able to try, maybe because of security. Talk about when we still had issues, very serious issues, because we still have issues in the Northeast. And you want to do a direct primary there. So you will move, like you do in general elections, you will move everybody from a Chibok to Maduguri. Do you understand?
Right.
So those are the things. So the president can see and the advisors can see that. But are those advices also from a
Place of is it genuine? That's what you're trying to say.
That's what I'm saying. So everybody is holding the aces, because no matter what happens, no matter any situation you confront yourself with, there will be reasonable pros and reasonable cons.
But can't we trust the government for once that this perhaps is in the interest of the people?
The first thing is, do we even trust ourselves? When you go to the market to go buy something, you check. Nigeria is the only country where I see, or it's one of the few countries where I see that even when you collect money from the ATM you count. So who do you want to hold responsible if the money is less than the
bank,
the number? Because it could be a Saturday, it could be a Sunday. And even if it's a work day, do you now go there? What proof do you have that you've not kept one or two leaves in your pocket? So do we even trust ourselves? So we have that trust issues. And the government must be able at every particular point in time to show the genuineness and the fairness in any policy or in any decision they want to make. So they have, it's a responsibility. The problem is not on the people. The problem and the owners, the responsibility is on the government. So you don't take decisions from like the cultural card BAC point of view, whereby you cannot ask me questions. You have to explain, you have to engage, you have to interact.
Which for me was, I felt that these people, talking about members of the National Assembly, they're members of these parties. They should have had conversations with their party members, let's exchange ideas on this decision before you now begin to, put it together to make it into law. Because right now, that is where they are back at.
So, like we said, how many weeks or months did it take to come up with that bill? How long did it take to pass it? The challenge is the governors are high-handed. Every senator must be subservient.
So this is an attempt to check the governors, you think?
Is the attempt for the legislature to check the executive. Because anytime they are in Abuja, the executive are in the states. They are running the show. When they come back, the guy that has done 8 years wants to go back to the National Assembly to retire and be sleeping there. Some of them anyway. So, and no matter what that senator had done in terms of positive influence, positive engagement in the National Assembly, it will be denied. Because the delegates that are going to vote are the cabinet members, special advisors, commissioners, people in the ward level in indirect primaries. Take, for example, everybody has their excesses. Did you see the kind of engagement Shehu Sani had when he was in the assembly? That kind of person is not somebody that should be on social media just saying so many things to the hair. He should be back there.
In the system.
Because even he engaged his own party at that time, APC, and he was trying to make them do things right. He was the first person that made us to know how much the senators were collecting. Dino Melai, that we always say is the people's champion, was asked on a platform for 45 minutes. He never mentioned it. So these are the kind of people we need. That I may be in this party, but if this party is doing what is not pro-mass or pro-masses, then I should be able to take a stand that we have to do it this way, and a public stand at that. And so many times, for the first time, he has his own weaknesses, but we have a president that we always see reasons. Someone still said yesterday that no matter what happened between him and Buhari, that he still picks his calls.
Right. I saw that too.
So these are the things we have to look at. But most times we talk about the president, we don't talk about the governors. We don't, sometimes because we believe that, okay, this governor is is really standing toe to toe with the executive, with Abuja, with any other thing he does is okay by us. And the governor could be very high-handed and will be denying credible people of their representation in where they're supposed to be.
Now, where does this leave us, especially with the fact that a lot of Nigerians were looking at an improvement of the process? We're in 2022, this is the election year, although the election itself is 2023. A lot of Nigerians were hopeful. I don't know if you are still part of those who are keeping hope alive that perhaps when the National Assembly returns from their recess, they might either veto or expunge that clause out of this bill. Where do you see this moving?
For me, I see two situations. There could be, option one could be like a truce, whereby even when we don't know about it, the president and the leadership of the parties will have engaged the legislatures and promises will have been made. And everybody will move on. That's option one.
Okay.
Option two is people will still not trust their governors, especially the senators. The House of Rep always, they carry them along because many of the House of Rep members are still their governor's boys, in quotes. So now, if that happens and they still don't trust the governors, they will find a way to tweak and modify those things to make us believe that it is still the Nigerian people's agenda they are presenting. And when they tweak it, maybe put some clauses, put these options and all that, maybe the president could look at it from another angle. But if the president does not now do what they think, they could go all out and just veto. Because politics is survivor.
Have we ever had a situation where we vetoed anything?
I think once, during Obasanjo. I think once. I can't remember the particular bill now from the top of my head, but we've done it once. It has been done once.
Since 1999?
1999. So, it's possible they could look the president eye to eye, eyeball to eyeball, because this is about survival. If they lose, they've already lost the battle, one of the battles. If they lose the war, that's extension in politics. How? Nobody wants to go through that. We just mentioned someone that is now on social media.
Okay.
Yesterday he was in a party as in PRP, then later to PDP. You can see that the structure is collapsing, because when you went to PRP, not all your supporters will follow you to PRP. The day you went to PDP, not all of them will also follow you. So where is the support base?
Right.
What's the situation of the support base?
Right.
Politics is more than what we're just discussing there. The support base has to be very, very solid. And you must always carry them along, no matter what happens. So we may think they don't really do anything. What the investment in that grassroots, in their support base, is not easy. So when you lose it, it's very difficult to get back.
Wow. So let's just wait to see what happens at the end of the day when the members of the National Assembly returns after their recess later this month. Thank you so much, political analyst Shijubomi Ademi Bennett, for your time on the program.
Thank you for having me.